Attention, attention, all personnel. Incoming podcast. This is MASH Matters.
It's MASH Matters, the podcast celebrating... Jeff, I do this every time. I'm always the one who intros the podcast. Are you sure that you don't want to do this instead? Jeff, wake up. We're podcasting, Jeff.
Podcasting. Hey.
Hi.
Oh, gosh. Well, hey, welcome to MASH Matters, the only podcast that you have to listen to ever to learn anything about MASH and its episodies things.
All right. I can see why I usually am the one who intros the podcast.
Oh,
that's okay. We're going to keep working on it.
Okay.
I'm sorry to wake you. I will let you get back to your nap here shortly.
No, I was awake.
Hey, we're here.
Hey.
Back for another episode 123.
So it's 123 episodes we have done.
Yes.
Can you believe it? 123 episodes.
123 episodes and approximately 7 questions actually answered.
With any accuracy.
Correctly answered, I should say.
Correctly answered, yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to see if we can get that number to 8 today with another round of listener questions and comments.
I'm not holding my breath, but
I wouldn't either.
Mm-mm.
But before we get to new questions and comments, as always, we have to find out what we did wrong in previous episodes. So let's do a little house cleaning here. Terry says, "Hi, guys. Just finished listening to episode 122, Radar's Magic Chiclet. It's not magic, actually. Radar says he left the bubble gum in the other Jeep. Hawkeye asks him who's on the picture on the card, and Radar says it was Rosalind Russell. There were trading cards, much like baseball trading cards, but with movie stars on them, and they came with bubble gum, which is what Radar left. Chiclets weren't bubble gum. They were chewing gum. You couldn't blow a bubble with chiclets if you tried, mostly because they were so small. I always thought that he had both kinds with him, but left the bubble gum. Love the podcast. Keep up the good work." Well, okay. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
They are two completely different types of gum, so it's possible that Radar just had a stockpile of gum on him in various forms. I suppose that is correct.
And chiclets, if somebody knocks your tooth out, you can actually replace it with a chiclet.
Right.
They look so much like teeth that dentists actually use them to save people money. So you can actually stick a chiclet in there. You may have to stick it in there, one every 3 weeks, but you still can do it. You cannot stick bubble gum in that space. It won't look right.
No.
Are
chiclets still around? I don't know that I've seen chiclets for many, many years.
I saw 3 of them in the backyard yesterday, so apparently they are.
Okay.
I saw cats chasing them, so I don't know.
All right.
And Max says, "Hi, I really enjoyed your show with Jay King and learning about the cast's time capsule. I've seen online that people think the time capsule buried in that episode was actually buried under the stage and uncovered years later. It sounds from what Jay described, that's not the case. That the time capsule Jay buried off camera is the one dug up years later. I can't imagine a studio letting a show even as popular as MASH dig up a studio floor to bury a time capsule. Am I correct in thinking what we see in that episode was just a pretend hole on the stage? Yes, Mac, you are. It was a pretend hole on the stage. And yes, 20th Century Fox would not have allowed those goofballs to dig down in the concrete just for a 5-minute shot of a thing in a hole.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. It was a fake hole. It was a pretend hole.
But like Jay said in the episode, they went back to that fake hole to do the real photo of what they were burying, because if you recall from our interview, he said Arlene Alda went out with them as they buried the time capsule on the studio lot. And the pictures that she took didn't really turn out that great. Mm-hmm. So they went back to the fake hole in the soundstage and posed with that as the official picture of them burying the time capsule. But that was not the actual time capsule that they buried on the studio lot.
Right. And the lesson here is always protect your fake hole. Always. Because you never know when you're going to need it again in the future.
You can direct all mail to Jeff Maxwell, mashmatterspodcast@gmail.com. All right, moving on. Manfred says, "Hey, Jeff and Ryan, once again, thank you for another great episode of Not Answering Questions. Haha. I listened to it just after watching the episode War Correspondent, in which BJ is shocked at the sight of Aggie O'Shea and stating, 'When did this line start using stewardesses?' The part about the flight nurse, Jonita Bonham, then reminded me of something I've read recently. Did you know that the first female flight attendant, Ellen Church, did get her job in 1930 only because she was a registered nurse? In the beginning of using flight attendants onto civilian flights, it was a requirement for them to be registered nurses. That only stopped with the beginning of World War II because the nurses were needed for the war efforts. I know this isn't a fact that has much reference to MASH, but I personally find that little detail fascinating. And for the listener from Bucharest, don't worry, Amazon does deliver to Romania. Enjoy the creamed weenies. Best greetings from the 51st parallel. Well, thank you, Manfred.
Interesting tidbit.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You can put those tidbits right next to the chiclets, and you have a great meal. And Russell says, regarding ordering Jeff's book from Amazon and getting it delivered to a foreign country, while I don't know about Budapest, I order things from Amazon Japan and get them delivered to the U.S. all the time. And when I lived in Japan, I ordered things from Amazon.com, U.S. site, and got them delivered to Japan. I checked, and Jeff's book is on sale on the Turkish Amazon, so it is possible to get the book internationally. Now, the postage rate might be more than you're willing to pay, cheapskates, but it is possible. Hope this helps those international fans who may want to order Jeff's book. Well, there you go. I'm a little confused as to if you're living in Japan, why you ordered from the U.S. side, and when you were living in Japan, you were living in U.S., you ordered from the Japan. I'm a little confused about that. Are you confused about that? Hello? Ryan?
What? Huh? What?
We're starting the podcast.
Oh,
you got to start the podcast.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. What? Where am I? Where are my pants? Okay.
Okay.
It's just good to know that you can get the book internationally.
So please, all of you international listeners, get on the ball here. Get that ordered, that book. For gosh sakes.
What are you waiting for?
All right. Thank you.
And Stacy writes to us in regards to MASH phrases that we use in our regular lives. Stacy says, "Hi guys, I live in southeast Wisconsin, and last weekend myself and another person made a long trip to see a band. It turned into an overnight stay in which we left pretty early the next day. We didn't have any sort of breakfast after a night that had included some drinks. Needless to say, my stomach wasn't very happy about this, and somewhere south of Chicago we had to pull over. I received some teasing, but my comeback was, I always wanted to barf on Illinois, and I thought the time was right. Apologies to anyone from Illinois, nothing personal." Well, Stacy, I live in Illinois, and I understand.
Now, Ryan, you probably know this. I don't. Where was that line, and how did it originate? I always wanted to barf on Illinois. Was that?
That is from the episode where Hawkeye has to leave the operating room because he had a little too much of, the offerings from the still and had to leave to go vomit.
I see.
And Radar questioned him about that, and Hawkeye's reply was, "Well, I always wanted to barf on Wee Jambu, and I just thought the time was right."
I got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for...
Hey, you're welcome.
I think the my little discussion here about Amazon and where the fellow, I don't know whether I said our wonderful listener's name, Russell. Russell sent that in about the international ordering of the book. So if I did not say your name, Russell, I apologize. I'm saying it now. Russell said that and asked that question. I might not have. Oh, no, I did say Mac. I remember that. Okay. But I may not have said Russell. Not sure what I just said.
Well, now I feel like I have to go back and highlight Stacy and also Terry and Manfred. Thank you. I hope we've given your names adequate attention. Jeff, wake up. You have to introduce a voicemail.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and here is a voicemail from our good listener, Deborah.
Hi, my name is Deborah Sini, and I am calling to leave a voicemail, like a several-page letter to you guys, and wanted to make sure I mailed it, because I write with an old-fashioned quill and ink for fun. The letter is to let you know how much MASH has mattered to me since I started as a paramedic 20-something years ago, and that I say Hawkeye Pierce is my spirit animal. So, looking for the mailing address. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. So Deborah likes to write letters, like real letters with pen and ink. And she wants to know how to send us a letter that she wants to write to us. So you can find our address on the website, mashmatters.com. Just go to contact us and you'll find the address where you can contact us. I'll go ahead and say it here, though. You can write to Mash Matters at 1613 Chelsea Road, number 355. That's San Marino, California, 91108. And again, we have that on the website if you would like to send us a letter. I mean, I know that there are folks out there who, it's kind of a lost art, really, nowadays, actually putting pen to paper and writing out a letter and wanting to send it in the mail. It's kind of charming nowadays, isn't it?
It is charming. I have tried to write, and I find that my handwriting has turned into something illegible.
Yes.
It's really an illegible scrawl.
Same.
And I think, I write something down, and then I look somewhere else, and I come back to it. I say, what did I write? How many did I write?
Yeah.
Isn't it terrible? It's because we're all on computers, and we become very good typists. But boy, the art and the skill of handwriting, gone.
I'm the same way. I just mentioned that to somebody the other day as I was writing something out. I was like, wow, I remember when my handwriting used to be actually kind of good. It was nice. I kind of, took pride in my handwriting. And now, no, it's awful.
Yeah.
I think we should all take a page from Deborah and do a little more handwriting.
I think everybody out there should send us a little handwritten note.
Right.
A little handwritten note on a check, maybe. You just, you write down our names and then write out like an amount, a figure amount on the check,
right,
and then sign it.
You need to be practicing writing numbers as well.
Exactly. Of course. Of course.
And your signature. You need to really always be working on your signature as well. So I think we've done some good here.
We've done really well. And for our international listeners, please do the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, checks are not, maybe money orders are better from international. Maybe you can write out a money order and send that to us.
So Cynthia says, speaking of letters, Cynthia says, in the episode where Radar used a technique to open a letter without tearing it, it's a small part of the scene, but an important one. My question is, does that technique actually work? I could try it myself, but I doubt I could pull it off due to the arthritis in my hands. Well, Cynthia, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work. It's all part of the magic of Radar, who was able to do things that other people could not do. He had this little technique where he just kind of slid his hand over the top of the envelope and then popped it with his finger, and miraculously it opened. The magic of Hollywood is what that was. Don't worry about it. You're not missing out, Cynthia. Don't worry.
Kevin, hi, Kevin. Kevin says, gentlemen, and I use that term loosely. Whoa. First, I must say you guys are awesome. Great job keeping the fans happy with your podcast. So, it's been a long road since I joined your podcast in 2020. I've got so much to say, but for right now, I'm just a bit curious to see if fans collect MASH memorabilia like myself. I've got dozens of original on-set press photos hanging in my basement, to the 3 3/4-inch carded figures from 1982 when I was a kid. A couple are autographed, including, in my opinion, the oh-so-awful pink Klinger. I have air fresheners and packs of marbles, too. I guess anything manufacturers could get permission to put the picture of the cast on, they'd sell it. Anyway, I'm just curious to see how many other nuts like myself are out there. Well, Ryan, how far do you think we have to go to see if there are any other nuts out there collecting MASH memorabilia?
Let me think.
How far?
Well, you found one right here.
Oh!
Hi.
Ding, 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 ding.
Fellow nut right here.
All right, I will continue Kevin's story. Along with Sherman T. Potter, Jeff has always been my favorite cast members. Kevin, why don't you come out to California? Or you fly us to wherever you are. I don't care. He totally reminds me of a very dear friend I used to hang out with and still talk to 35 years later. Wow. He looks similar. Very handsome friend you must have. Has the same personality, laugh, and mannerisms. So he's always had a special place in my heart. It feels like I knew Jeff because of the similarities. Anyway, love what you're doing. Keep it up. Kevin, thank you very, very much for those very, very kind words. I truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Kevin. Yeah, I collect MASH memorabilia myself, and I know that there are a lot of listeners who do it as well. It's right behind me. I guess you can't see it because it's an audio podcast, but I've got a ton of stuff here on my shelves, and I also have boxes and boxes of stuff that I keep buying and I don't have anywhere to put, which is a shame because I want people to see it. I want to show it off, but I can't do it if it's sitting in boxes. So I have to okay, so here's an idea. Normally I wouldn't do this in the middle of recording the podcast. I would talk to you, Jeff, about this off the microphone before, I threw this idea to you. So I'm going to pitch this idea. And
is it about that mole thing you got on?
No, this is a different thing. So I'm going to pitch this idea to you. And if you don't like it, I'll just cut it out of the episode and nobody will ever hear it. So here we go. How about maybe even our next episode of MASH Matters? We could do a video episode.
Ooh.
And put it on YouTube where I can show off my stuff. You can show off anything that you might have. I know you have some of your own things that you took home from Igor. We could do like a big show and tell.
Ooh.
And it gives me an opportunity and an excuse to unpack these boxes behind me that keep piling up and finding a place for these things. So what do you think?
I think it's a very interesting idea. Could we, do you think, have our listeners send us? Do you think that would work? Would that be too complicated to have videos of some of their memorabilia so we could look at that too?
They could, yeah. We could, at the very least, even if we don't get it in time for the actual episode, we could always share some of those photos on the website and on our social media pages. So yes, if you have a piece in your MASH collection that you're proud of, you can take a photo or a video and send it to us and we'll share it with others as well. Because my collection, while it's getting bigger by the minute, in fact, I just got something new in this week to add to it, I know it pales into comparison to some others who have MASH collections. They collect everything. And so anyway, I thought maybe it's kind of an interesting idea. Kevin talked about MASH memorabilia. We've had other people ask about it, including the action figures, which I have as well, along with the pink clinger that he's talking about. I have that as well. And so what do you think?
I think it's a lot of fun. And I can show my 2 memorabilia pieces.
Absolutely.
Most of all the memorabilia I collected, it went into the bank.
Right.
So I don't have it in boxes anymore. I took it out of boxes and my wife said, "Put it in the bank. What are you doing?"
She's smart.
Yeah.
She's very wise. Yes.
I have a couple of things, but
okay.
You have many more MASH memorabilias than I do. I'm sure.
I'm sure I do, but yours are cooler because they're actually yours and they're from the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we plan on that? So the next episode, we'll do a video episode that you can watch on our YouTube channel. We'll put all the links everywhere so you can watch it. And we'll just show off some stuff here and talk about the different things that people collect. And like Kevin said, the things that they would just slap the cast picture on and sell it as a MASH product, even though it had absolutely nothing to do with MASH. I've got some of those too. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. It's settled.
All right.
See, Kevin, what you've started.
Oh, Kevin. Thanks a lot, Kevin. But thanks for the kind words anyway, Kevin. I really appreciate them. Thank you very much. And say hi to your friend for me.
All right, Jennifer says, Jeff and Ryan, love the podcast. We listen while we work most days to set the scene. We farm and I train ranch horses. So we're usually in the barn while listening. Oh, Jeff's in the barn too. That being said, of all the glitches in MASH episodes that don't quite add up, what bothers me more than any other weird occurrence is in Season 9, Episode 3. BJ and Hawkeye are walking with Colonel Potter to his horse's pen, discussing how to get a cement floor in the OR. They arrive at Sophie's pen. That horse is another issue entirely, she says. And in the scene, you can clearly see baled straw. Not loose or stacked straw, baled straw. I'm watching the episode with my husband, and I pause the DVD and ask him just exactly where they came across baled straw, clearly made by a mechanized baler that would also need to be tractor-driven in 1950s Korea during the war. He suspects that they just didn't think anyone would notice, but leave it to me. Now, on to Sophie. The inconsistencies in the horses that play the role of Sophie drive me nuts. Completely different genders and markings from episode to episode. When she/he first shows up, Radar calls the horse he, then suddenly it's a mare and somehow loses its white markings every now and then. Disclaimer, we have experience providing horses for a movie, and trying to be consistent from scene to scene with what horses should be with which characters is an actual thing. So what the heck? Being a horse person from the early childhood, the scenes with Sophie and Colonel Potter's tales of his cavalry days, there we go, were my favorite part growing up. In fact, contrary to popular opinion, I like the Dreams episode just for the scene when young Sherman Potter is riding the big gray horse as his mom's calling him for dinner as older Colonel Potter looks on. Also, a word about our favorite episode because it is, in our opinion, one of Jeff's most brilliant physical comedy moments. We can't even discuss it when we're not watching it without fits of laughter. Season 3, Episode 11, Adam's Ribs. OMG. Igor's face as he's banging the pot lid along with Hawkeye's "We Want Something Else" chant absolutely kills me every time. I rewind it because it's just that funny of a scene. Thank you for what you both do to keep the magic of MASH alive, bringing the show to new fans and giving us old-timers who watched it weekly as it originally aired a place to reminisce. When you produce the Jeff Maxwell/Igor spinoff, please keep the equine character actors more consistent. All right, there you go. Thank you, Jennifer.
Ryan, could you read that again, but start with a word about our favorite episode? Forget all that horse stuff. I mean, start, in our opinion, one of Jeff's...
You can just go back and listen to this episode at mashmatters.com.
Okay, I will.
Put it on a loop.
Jennifer, thank you for saying those nice things. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And way to go, Igor, for baling all that straw.
No kidding. Now you know what Igor really did. He
dug latrines and baled straw.
And, I get that horse thing. I mean, look, these guys they didn't care about the horse. They brought the horse in and they were sure, nobody's going to look at the horse. What do we care? Uh-huh. So they brought on a brown horse. They brought in a white horse. It had spots. It didn't have spots. It had a tail. It had no tail. I appreciate her opinion. And certainly if she's a horse person, and I am too. I owned a couple of horses. I get it. But the producers went, what horse? Oh, yeah, we'll bring that one over here. That's good.
Well, I mean, in Hollywood in those days, a horse was a horse, of course.
Oh, boy. Good one. All right. Leslie says, ladies and gentlemen, hi, Jeff and Ryan. Great episode. And when you talked about the potential a day in the life of Igor, I realized that, holy cow, we as the audience have no idea where his quarters are. And in the horse thing, where his hindquarters are. Well, anyway, we know the nurses have bunk beds. We know that early on, Klinger has a temporary bunkie who made Mr. Sock. We know that Radar and later Klinger slept in their office. But where did Goldman sleep? And what about Joe, that Fink, that dirty, rotten Fink, who had a thing or two to say about I-Corps, about the 4077? Where did he sleep? Just wondering how I never thought of these questions until just now. Thanks for the opportunity to ask a silly question or two. Well, gosh, Leslie, thank you for asking those silly questions.
So where did Igor sleep?
He slept in the mess tent. He slept behind the steam table. Nobody knows that. They never took a shot of him going to sleep, but that's where he slept, is in the mess tent under the steam table.
All right.
Kept him warm.
This is canon now.
Okay.
Larry says, we just watched season 3, episode 16, and we're quite perplexed on what musical instrument Jeff is playing during the Polly Adler fundraiser during the hula dance scene. It's super humorous, and it looks like Jeff is having serious fun by playing music with some food. Are they hamburger buns? But it doesn't make sense the way that they crumble. Or is it just very, very stale bread? Or Pop-Tarts? Or... Jeff, I hope you still remember, but please let us know. I made a quick movie so you don't have to go and look up the scene.
Yes.
Did you, Jeff, get a chance to watch the video from Larry?
I did indeed, Larry, and I appreciate you sending that video. I watched it. Was I cute or what? I mean, let's be real here. I didn't even know what I was doing. I said, look at this cute guy back there.
We'll put the video on our website. I think everybody knows what he's talking about, but just in case, you can go watch and see Jeff's cuteness.
Thank you. Okay. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was stale or toasted bread because it did crumble. It looked like pieces of bread rubbing together and it just kind of disintegrated. And I could pick up another one. And they were out there, having a picnic thing. So they had sandwiches and junk out there. So that's what it was. It was bread. Ladies and gentlemen.
I suspected it was really, really stale bread.
Yes.
I hope we have solved that mystery for you, Larry.
And Giovanni writes, back in 2020, I decided to watch MASH from start to finish on MeTV, and I quite enjoyed it. To me, the series can be divided into 4 parts. Seasons 1 to 3 are the beginning of the show, having more of a comedic edge. Seasons 4 to 5 is where they started the transition to blend in more serious elements. Seasons 6 to 7 are where there's more serious elements than comedic elements. Then seasons 8 right to the end is where it feels like a different show, whether that be because of Radar's departure or any other behind-the-scenes elements. Did you notice a change in the show as it goes on and changes the cast? And does that change for good or for bad? Well, Giovanni, I don't think that's for me to answer. I think it's for you to answer. Did you enjoy it or you didn't enjoy it? It sounds like you're leaning towards the bad side of things. Over the years, I have heard so many, opinions about MASH, and they say jump the shark and it stopped being funny, and Loretta had her hair different and everybody didn't do what they were supposed to do. And it was very serious. And Alan got very serious and dramatic and all those kinds of things. And yes, that happened. And yes, there were changes in the cast. And yes, that had an impact on where the writers went, how they felt, and watching the performances. That's true. It did. Mm-hmm. But, Larry Gelbart started the show. He created it. He wrote the first 4 years of it, basically. And all of the flavoring of Larry Gelbart went into those first 4 years. Other people picked it up and tried to run with it, but some things grow and they develop. And you can't say, well, we have to keep it like this. You got to let it be what it's going to be. And organically, these shows do change and they grow and they change a little bit in thematic issues. And so you got to let MASH and all those television shows be what they become. And you may not like them, or you may like them, but it's a very interesting illustration of how television shows can grow with really great thematic thought and how they want it to look from as opposed to the very beginning. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just a thing. And we'll be right back after this word from your local station.
I think you're right. I agree with everything you're saying. I wonder if MASH had not changed. So if you had Hawkeye, Trapper, Frank, Henry from season 1 on, and that dynamic never changed. Frank was always Frank. Henry was always Henry. Radar never left. Klinger wore dresses the entire time. Would MASH have lasted 11 seasons? Mm-hmm. Or is part of the reason MASH was able to last for so long is because of the evolution of the series, the evolution of the characters, the tone of the series as it went on. I wonder how long MASH would have lasted if it had just been all the same people and the same kind of feel from the first 3 seasons.
A good question. I know that sometimes I watch things and, I love, if I'm watching a television show and I love what they do, I want to see them do it over and over and over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And then if they changed it dramatically, I go, what about the stuff they had with the football and the laughs and all this stuff? There is that to that. And I know that people can fall in love with a particular kind of show and want to see them do that a lot all the time. And every time we watch that show, we're going to see what we want to see. And that's true. I get that. In a show like MASH, however, there were so many dramatic elements that were in that show. Yeah. And inherent in a place that was everybody could be dead in 6 minutes. If things went wrong. So you had such drama there that it would have been, I think, really unfair to the reality of where they were to completely negate that and completely negate those dramatic elements because they were there. And I think, Giovanni, you've very correctly identified the 4 parts. I think I agree with you in terms of how it changed in those seasons. You're accurately portraying what happened to them. But again, I think it had to grow because MASH was a show that was produced by people that felt it was important for it to grow. And that's why it did. And I'm trying to grow too. I'm trying so hard. And I'm looking for the right seasons for me to grow.
I think season 12 would have been your season, Jeff.
I think I was ready. I was ready.
Yeah. And that stupid war had to go and end.
Darn that thing. Darn.
All right. Tim says, hey, I've got a question about scripts. I'd like to buy a MASH script, and I've seen them on eBay. However, I know some are reprints and have a variety of conditions. Prices I've seen range from $30 to $150. What is a reasonable amount to pay for a script? I don't even care if it's not an actor-owned script. All right, I have a little bit of insight to this, but I do not have a definitive answer because what is a reasonable amount to pay? That is subjective. Whatever you think is reasonable is what's reasonable. If you really want to own an original script from MASH, they're out there and you can buy them. But yeah, you're probably going to be spending $100, $150 somewhere in there. If you want a reprint, you can find reprints everywhere. You can find them on Etsy and eBay. You can find them very cheap, like you said, about $30. If that's all you want, you can find something very affordable. But if you're wanting to spend more, yeah, you're going to be shelling out $100, $150 probably. And that's unless the script is signed by somebody or there is provenance to show that it did actually belong to a cast member, then you're going to be paying more. And usually those you're going to find more in the auction houses than you are going to find on eBay or Etsy or wherever. So, Tim, ultimately, it comes down to how much is it worth to you to have one? And if you're willing to pay it, they are available.
Tim, I have several scripts that are priced at $10,000 a piece. If you'd like to discuss it, because you're a listener, I think I can go down to $9,500.
He'll splash food on it, too, if you want.
Well, they all have food splashed on them. There's not one that doesn't have creamed weenies or something on it.
Well, you gifted me a script a while back, and it does have a stain on it. Which I guess you'll see in the next episode when we do our video episode showing off our collections. I'll show you the stained, and I don't know what the stain is, and I think it should remain a mystery, whatever it is.
Would you not have been disappointed had it not had a stain?
It's perfect. It's exactly what I needed. Yes, and it's my favorite episode too, so you will get to see that in the next episode.
I'm ready. Well, okay, Tim, I got all these scripts. I'll stain them all if you want. No, not really all stained. Some of them have writing. I went back and looked at them a couple of weeks ago, and I had all these directions to people's houses and telephone numbers, and, all kinds of things to my agent, what I was going to call him. It was an amazing bunch of stuff on there. Anyway, Deidre says, "Hi, Jeff and Ryan. Greetings from Western Kentucky. Not too far from you, Ryan. I've been watching MASH since it came on the air and have continued watching it for all these years since. My kids have grown up watching it also. When my son was in college, he had to dress up as a character of his choosing. He chose his favorite character, which was Colonel Flagg. He gave a speech in character. Well, that must have been fun. I would like to have seen that. That would have been a fun thing to see.
Yeah.
My daughter, age 24, told me not long ago that when she was little, she always thought they were calling Hawkeye Hot Guy. She said it was a long time past high school before she figured that one out. She said her thought that his name was Hot Guy was validated because he always was dating women and everyone loved him. Hot Guy. I think we have to send this to Alan. I think he'll get a kick out of it.
Yeah.
Jeff, I also received your cookbook for Christmas, and they enjoyed looking through it as much as I did. I really enjoyed the podcast. Keep up the good work. How nice. Well, that's a fun story to hear that your son dressed up as a character from MASH, and he chose Colonel Flagg. I was thinking it was going to be, Hawkeye or Hot Guy or one of those people. But
Hot Guy.
Interesting, Colonel Flagg. That's fun. He was one of my favorite characters. He was really funny.
Yeah.
I thought that character was just drop dead great. He did such a good job.
Hot Guy Pierce. It's just funny. This is the last one, and it's a long one. Right. So settle in, folks. This one's a journey, but it's so good I wanted to include it. This is from JP. Hello, Jeff and Ryan. It's a real pleasure for me to be able to write you a few words of appreciation and admiration. I'm 38 years old, born in 1985, and I live in Salt Lake City, Utah. I have been a fan of MASH since I was a little kid, around 10, although my story is a little different than most. Both of my parents immigrated to the U.S. from South America before I was born. They were mostly into their Spanish sitcoms where characters would die and come back to life as an evil stepbrother. I discovered MASH through my love of a different TV show, The Simpsons. I would watch The Simpsons before my bedtime, and I always noticed this curious-looking show that would air right after it. By that point, it was already past my bedtime and would need to turn off the TV. Although some nights, unbeknownst to my parents, I would turn the TV on again to see what this other show was all about. I, of course, ended up falling in love with MASH, and the rest is history. As much as I loved The Simpsons, MASH seemed to give me something that I never realized I needed. A role model. Not to shy away from my parents, who were both very good, hard-working people, and for some reason believed people could rise from the dead in Spanish sitcoms. They never talked about the topics and different hardships in life that I would experience. Lessons and behaviors of other people and how some situations called for different approaches with certain words. How to pick your battles and have certain values that are important to be unbreakable. How to put myself in other people's shoes and learn to be accepting and forgiving, but also have a fine line so that no one would take advantage of me. I know this is getting pretty deep for a simple TV show, but that's the thing. It's not just a simple TV show. I was very shy as a kid, and MASH helped me realize and discover the types of values I wanted to hold. The character Hawkeye, which rumor has it was played by Alan Alda, was my idol. I would always observe and even try to emulate how he found humor in difficult situations. I learned to do the same thing in my life, and every time I apply this technique, I see firsthand how a stressful situation all of a sudden becomes a very clear moment and a lot less heavy. Not just for me, but for the people around me as well. I eventually got into pharmacy as a career and work at a hospital. Getting through the COVID-19 pandemic was challenging, but I remember thinking, what would Hawkeye do? Then I stopped myself because calling my coworker Ferret Face would probably be frowned upon. I discovered your MASH Matters podcast at the beginning of this year and have finally caught up with all the episodes. I think what you guys are doing is amazing because it keeps the show alive for newer generations, especially in these troubling times that only seem to be getting more and more troubling. Everyone needs a dose of MASH to go around, along with a high colonic. Jeff, I have to say my curiosity to get into cooking started with you. I have a passion for food and barbecued smoked meats. I've even invented a few recipes of my own that I would be happy to share with you. I'll stop by your house one day. You also taught me to ask for refreshments everywhere I go, to which I have benefited from plenty. In 2021, I heard 3 of MASH cast members would be at the FanX Comic-Con for pictures, Loretta Swit, Jamie Farr, and of course Jeff Maxwell. Unfortunately, days before the show, they announced that Jeff would not be showing. I was saddened to hear this and hoped you were okay, but decided to go anyway. Meeting Jamie and Loretta felt like a dream come true. When I met Jamie, I leaned over and asked, "Hey, I'm trying to get a Section 8 at work, but with no luck. Any advice?" The look on his face completely changed and all of a sudden became very serious. He said, "It's not going to work." I don't think I ever laughed so hard in my life. So, to make a long story long, thank you, Jeff and Ryan, so much for all you do. You guys kick ass.
Yeah.
P.S. I have a very important question for you both. Probably the most important question of all. Jeff, you are the fan of the show, and Ryan was on the show. Can you confirm this mystery?
Wow.
Woo!
Ooh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, JP. That was such a great message. I felt like we needed to read it in its entirety.
Beautiful. Yeah, that was a beautiful message. This is the first time that I've ever heard that what I did on the show had an impact on somebody's behavior.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Gee, I'm very flattered. Yeah, and stop by. Let's smoke a rib here and there. Let's smoke something. Mostly meats, but,
Right, yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's you're in California, so hey.
California, you can smoke anything you want here.
You Hollywood types.
Yeah, what a great message. Thanks so much.
Thank you for sharing, JP. And if you would like to write us, you can do that, mashmatterspodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on X/Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. You can listen to episodes on your favorite podcast players and YouTube. And don't forget to rate and review our podcast at Apple Podcasts. We have merch. You can click on the store link at we have everything, Jeff. Just
Everything.
absolutely everything. If you want it, we've got it. If we don't have it,
We'll go find it.
it's on back order.
And just so you know, JP, no, you're wrong. I was the one on the show. Ryan was a fan of the show, just to be clear.
I feel bad because we didn't mention it at the top of the episode like we usually do to remind
Yeah.
everybody. See, this is what happens. People get confused if we don't say it. You can also leave us a voicemail under 3 minutes in length at 513-436-4077. And you can support the show at Patreon. Just go to mashmatters.com/support and we will thank some of our Patreon VIPs in upcoming episodes.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it. We can go back to our naps now.
All right. See ya, everybody.
Until next time, here's looking up your old address.